You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, Certified Life Coach Michelle Arnold Burke. In today's episode, we're discussing failure is just data, the resilient mindset shift high performers need. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. Okay, this is going to be a fun one because I'm talking about change and I am in it as far as change goes. As I record this, we are still waiting for our New York items to arrive in Florida. We still have things going on with the New York house. I'm figuring out what my schedule is going to look like with a half-made office. We are in it. And I know as we get to the other side, it's all so worth it. So here is a question for you. How many times have you said, or even just thought, I need to make a change? Maybe it's in your business. Maybe it's a habit, a relationship, your health, your pipeline, the way you show up in your territory, the way you show up for yourself. You know something needs to shift. You can feel it. And then nothing happens. Not because you're lazy, not because you don't care, not because you're not smart enough or driven enough or ready enough. It doesn't happen because your brain is doing exactly what it is designed to do. And today, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about change, about failure, about what it actually means to build a resilient mindset, one that doesn't crumble when things get hard or messy or uncomfortable, because they will. So let's go ahead and get into it. Here's what your brain is running on at all times. There's a concept in neuroscience called the Motivational Triad. And once you understand it, you will never look at your own resistance to change the same way again. Your brain has three primary drives. 1, avoid pain. 2, seek pleasure. 3, be as efficient as possible. That's it. That's the whole operating system. And here's the thing. It's brilliant for survival, for keeping you alive when we were outrunning predators on the savannah. This system was everything. But you're not outrunning predators. You are trying to hit a quota. You are trying to build a better morning routine. You are trying to pick up the phone and make one more call or walk into one more OR or have one more hard conversation with a surgeon who has told you no, maybe about 4 other times. And your brain, it looks at all of that, every new thing, every uncertain thing, every uncomfortable thing, and it says, nope, that's pain. Let's avoid it. It says, the couch is pleasurable. Let's just stay there. Or let's go have a glass of wine and relax. That will help. Or maybe we should go shopping. It says, we already know how to do what we're doing, so let's just keep doing that. It's efficient. This is not a character flaw. This is your evolutionary inheritance. But it means that if you're trying to grow, and I know you are because you're here, you are going to be swimming upstream against your own wiring every single day. So the first thing I want you to do is give yourself some grace. Can we all just take a breath and give ourselves some grace? And then I want to talk about what to actually do about it. There's something that I think about a lot, and it's this. We are often more willing to stay in the misery of what we know than to step into the uncertainty of something different. I am going to say that again because it is so prevalent. We are often more willing to stay in the misery we know than to step into the uncertainty of something different. We will tolerate a bad situation, a bad territory, a bad dynamic with a manager, a bad relationship with food, a bad mindset longer than almost anything else because at least it's familiar. Familiar is efficient. Familiar doesn't set off alarm bells. Familiar doesn't require your nervous system to recalibrate. But familiar is also a ceiling. And I see this in women a lot. High performers, women who are absolutely crushing it by every external metric, and yet they are exhausted, disconnected, quietly miserable, and they will not make the change that they know would move the needle because the unknown feels worse than the known pain. The brain has a name for this. It's sometimes called the status quo bias. We overweight what we might lose and underweight what we might gain. We are wired to protect the current state, even when the current state is costing us everything. So, what do? You name it. You call it out because awareness is the beginning of everything. Say it out loud. I am choosing this misery because it's familiar, and my brain thinks that's safer. That's not judgment, that's just the truth. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And sometimes we don't want to make the change because we are afraid we will fail. So let's talk about failure. How much fun can we have here today, right? Because this is where it really does get good. What if every quote unquote failure you ever had was just a learning lesson that you haven't extracted the value from yet? I'm serious. What if we just collectively agreed to retire the word failure? Because here's what failing actually is: it is information, it is feedback, it is your path telling you, not that way, let's try this. When you lost that account, that was data. When the surgeon chose your competitor, that was data. When the new product launch didn't go the way you planned, data. When you said you'd wake up at 5 a.m. and then you hit the snooze for the seventh time, data. You don't have to personalize every single thing. None of it means that you're not cut out for this. None of it means you should stop. All of it means you now know something you didn't know before. Wasn't it Thomas Edison who said, and I know it's probably cliche, right? But because it's cliche, there's probably some truth to it. He said he didn't fail 10,000 times in making the light bulb. He found 10,000 ways that it didn't work. How about that little change in the way we look at things? That is resilient mindset. That is what we're building here. And here's a little piece of gratitude to go with it. I know. We're having fun talking about failure and we're bringing gratitude to it. I've completely lost my mind, you might be thinking, but that's okay because finding gratitude in the hard stuff sounds a little bit out there, but I want you to hear me out. When you can genuinely ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Not as a coping mechanism, but as a real inquiry, you shift your nervous system. You move from threat to curiosity, from contraction to expansion. And that shift changes everything about what you're able to see, to create, and to do next. Gratitude is not toxic positivity. It's not pretending that it didn't hurt or it wasn't a setback. It's choosing to mind the moment for what actually is useful and then moving forward with more information than you had before. That is resilience. That is the R and rise that we talk about here, resilient mindset. Okay, now we're going to go a little bit deeper because here's what nobody tells you about habits and change. You have to have the nervous system capacity to actually hold them. This is some of the deep work that I am doing as well. We need to expand our capacity to have the change and allow our nervous system to feel safe. Think about it this way. You can have the best morning routine in the world written on paper, the 5 a.m. wake up, the journaling, the hydration, the movement, and you can want it with every part of you. But if your nervous system is dysregulated, if you are operating from a chronic state of stress, overwhelm, or threat, your body cannot take on new habits. It is in survival mode. And survival mode is not a place where you build new things. It's a place where you defend the old ones. This is nervous system science. Your window of tolerance, the zone where you can actually learn, grow, change, and integrate new behavior, is expanded by regulation, by slowing down, by doing things like breath, sleep, by moments of genuine rest and connection and safety. And I know what you're probably thinking, because I still think this some days. I don't have time to slow down. Now you're probably saying, I have the territory to run. I have a quota to hit. I have kids and a commute and a manager, everything breathing down my neck. I have to do it all. I hear you. But here's the truth. Slowing down is not a luxury. It is a prerequisite. You cannot pour from an empty cup. But more than that, you cannot grow from an empty nervous system. You have to create capacity first. Even 5 minutes. Breathe in for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4, and then out for a count of 6. That is not woo. That is ventral vagal activation. That is literally shifting your physiological state so that you can show up as the version of you who is ready to take on what's next. Because who you're becoming, that woman needs a regulated nervous system to operate from. And speaking of who you're becoming, let's go there. And I want to mention Benjamin Hardy. I've talked about him a number of times on the podcast. I think he has some amazing books, and he talks about this beautifully in his book, Be Your Future Self Now. The idea is that your future self, the version of you who has already done the thing, built the habit, hit the number, healed the relationship, built the life, that woman already exists. She's not a fantasy. She's a destination, and she's already made the decisions that you're afraid to make right now. She is already within you. She already took the call. She already had the hard conversation. She already showed up on the days when she didn't feel like it, and she already got comfortable being uncomfortable. And here's the energetic piece. You get to decide right now to start living from that identity. You don't have to see it to believe it. You have to believe it first and become it. Become that new identity. Not pretending, not fake it till you make it, but genuinely asking yourself, what would the version of me who has already figured this out do in this moment? Because she wouldn't call it failure, she'd call it practice. She wouldn't let her brain's motivational triad run the show. She'd notice the resistance and take the action anyway. She would regulate and then act. She would choose the unknown over the familiar misery. That woman is you. She's just a few brave decisions ahead. All right, let's bring it home with something practical because we talk about mindset all day, but I also want to give you a tool that you can use today. I always talk about take what works, leave what doesn't, and it's so important for you to actually start taking action. And I want to mention, again, probably for like the 100th time, James Clear Atomic Habits and habit stacking. It's one of the simplest, most effective ways to build the behaviors of your future self into your actual life today. Here's how it works. You attach a new habit to one that already exists. The formula is after I blank, so your current habit, I will blank, insert your new habit. That's it. Your brain already has a neural pathway for what you're doing consistently. And when you link something new to something established, you're borrowing the momentum. You're being efficient, which, as we now know, is exactly what your brain loves. So instead of trying to overhaul your entire morning from scratch, you pick one thing, one small thing. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write down one thing I'm grateful for from yesterday's challenges. After I park my car in that hospital lot, I will take 3 deep breaths and ask, what would my future self do on this call today? After I send my last email of the day, I will note one learning from today, not a failure, a learning. Small, consistent, compounding. That's lasting change. James Clear says you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And habit stacking is how you build the system. And here's your takeaway. One thing that I want you to do before this week is over. I want you to identify one place in your life or work where you have been tolerating the familiar misery. We all have a place, maybe even more than one. Maybe it's sales behavior that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a mindset loop that you just keep running. Maybe it's a habit that you've been wanting to build, but just haven't gotten started. Name it, write it down, then write this. What has staying here cost me? And then write this. What would my future self do instead? And then, and this is the key, build one habit stack around it. One small anchored action. That's it. That is enough. That is actually how change gets made, not in grand gestures and small, committed, stacked moments. Your brain is probably going to resist this. And that's not a problem. That's just, any other Tuesday, Thursday. What makes the difference is whether you let the resistance stop you or whether you learn to move through it. Failure is just learning in disguise. Change is just growth with an awkward middle. And you are more capable of holding both more than you can ever imagine. This is the resilient mindset that we're building. And listen, I said earlier, resilient mindset is the R in Rise. I want to make sure that you're on the email list so you can receive the Rise report. Each week, I send short, actionable info so you can make more of the changes that you want most in your life. So head over to michelleburkecoaching.com/Rise report and join us for free. The link will also be in the show notes. Okay, that's it for you today. Let's meet back next week. But for now, make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburtcoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.